Welcome back. It is Astralis, it is X7, the team at the top of the standings versus a team who's still struggling to get the third victory. And we are back on the desk. I'm going to divert my eye gaze to Goldberg, straight up to you, Nightmare. This is a rough game for Astralis. There's no way around it.
Okay, so bearing that in mind, this game is definitely going to be one of those where, as much as Astralis did impress me when they came back against, I believe it was XL. They lost that game, but looked still pretty good doing it. It feels like this could be another kind of game where they might walk away with a loss, but they have a chance to impress just because of the level of their opposition.
I think let's for real as well, because obviously I think there are ways where Astralis can attack. We've already seen X7 not invincible. They are making basic mistake. I think Nata with the center was one. I think sometimes with the mid game as well, we saw them struggle a little bit earlier last week as well towards the mid game, but they were able to claw back into it really easily. I think my main concern is the fact that normally I would say you have Vendelbo, you have Chrisberg. Let's try and put a lot of resources down towards the bot side. Let's try and attack Nata, who looked a bit shaky last week. But then you're left with Carlson up towards weak siding. And throughout majority of Carlson's career, even when he was on the talent team when they were in the Telia roster, he was played for as well. He was on the Camille, he was on the Renekton. He was quite often facilitated. And he's just not, at least from what we've seen so far there, where I feel like it will go unpunished if he doesn't get resources, or else he would have to step up immensely.
So kind of following on from that, just like a last one on Astralis before we kind of go back over to X7, I suppose. But the thing about X7 is that we kind of just know they're good. We don't have to hammer that point home that much. But going back to kind of Chrisberg and stuff, you look at his stats actually, gets a lot of resources, does have decent DPM, but on the eye check for me, there's a lot of resources which have gone into that bot lane in terms of, I believe he has the highest share of CS post 15 minutes of any AD carry, I believe, in the league. There's some stats like that. Either way, he gets funneled a lot of resources, and there are numbers to support that. But I still don't see him popping off in team fights the way that the team really needs to do that. And that's eventually going to be a limiting factor when there are so many damn good AD carries in this league.
It's not only just about the AD carries as well. I'm like looking at Tem coming in from a Korean league, and you're looking at Cress, who's got former LEC experience. This is a way for him as well to really shine through and say, you know what, guys, I'm not actually, you know, that bad compared to what the prime I've been in. Like, I can definitely work my way up, because that is the goal of every veteran that comes up from a major league and goes down to a lesser league. They all want to work their way back. We've seen it before. We've seen it before. But right now, we're just not seeing it from Astralis at least. So if you want to really prove it today, you do it against Tempt, who's one of the better mid laners in the league.
And is this a game where you save the last pick of Astralis to the top side to get the rookie versus the giant?
I'm actually really happy that they're coming through as red side here, because I think that's something that helps with them if they, even if you want to draft bot lane, because you can put Carlson in a favorable position where he knows what he's picking into. Last time he just blind picked the set on the blue side, and then he kind of got ran over by a little bit by the Renekton.
So on a bit of a historical time, one of my favorite people to reference when we're talking about weak side is the very old Jin-Air top laner of Trace. He was called Grandpa Trace because he was kind of like the grandfather of the team. And he was one of those players that would just never give you anything when you put him on weak side. And it takes a lot to learn that kind of mentality. It's very easy to play with resources, very easy to play from a foot forward saying, I have all the gold, let me carry. Nata's been someone like that on the side of X7 as well. He's going to get the perfect champion for it. Carlson needs to be in a position again this game where if he gets put without resources, he can't falter.
He's been given a lot already. This Gwen pick so far is a flex, so we cannot assume that it's going up towards Carlson. But I'm actually really surprised we see this rotation come through, because as soon as I see the Aphelios, to me that kind of screams, oh, let's take away the Thresh, because if you pair the Thresh off with Aphelios, that's going to be a bit more difficult. But you can also see X7, they recognized what was happening with the AD carry pool as soon as the first 6 bans come out. Jinx was taken off the table, so was Caitlyn. What's left to grab of the OP AD carries, you go for the Aphelios. So you can clearly see that they have a strategy right now on X7 where they want to attack the bot side, and with the Jin pick to come through from Astralis, they want to make that neutralizing instead. They want to play a bit more facilitating.
And I love what both teams have done to this, because Astralis noticed they have the Aphelios like, oh heck, front to back is not working out in the AD carry department. We need to win. We need to find a win in our front to back somewhere. They pick up the Gwen. Gwen gives you that immune for such a long time, and you can win the fight during that duration of time. X7 say, okay, we're going to have the same with Jin Zhao. That's nullified as well. So now we're going to have to see which of these teams is going to really start pulling ahead in other areas of the game outside of these like-for-like bonuses they have.
I kind of wish that Astralis would have picked the rotation with Xin Zhao themselves, because I feel like it's one of these champions that's actually super good at neutralizing Aphelios. Aphelios is super annoying.
Have both of them.
Exactly. Aphelios is super annoying to play against just due to the fact that, you know, he kites back. He's super reliable once he gets the Dark Passes as well to create space between you. If you had the Crescent Strike, you wouldn't have to worry about that. But enough said about that. Astralis, they want to keep the flex open on the Gwen, so I assume that they want to fourth pick their mid laner, which is why we see them go for some mid lane bans themselves as well here, while obviously taking away the Akali is a flex that both Jaeger and Tim can play.
So, bonus with this, just a very quick one, is that actually Wendelbar has the go button, has a Nautilus, has a good Nautilus. I've enjoyed casting that before. If you take away something like the Vex, though, from Cress, you only have one go button on the team, and Astralis have really struggled to use multiple go buttons at once. So again, we kind of bring back that whole identity of, like, Astralis need to know how and when to engage, and they're lacking that a bit right now. That helps.
I'm actually super surprised that that's the idea we're going for here, but it also shows that they want to put not Cress in the most comfortable position possible, because you could have held on to the Gwen flex, made it a bit more unclear what was going to happen from the X7 side, but immediately we just say, all right, Carlson, he is going to be a carry on the top side, he's going to play Gwen, so Jaeger, take your pick. What do you want to go against it?
I like this. So I was chatting to, actually, no, you know what? I didn't think about this. I actually, for once in my life, have to give credit to my brother, Sam, who's over there, said, because he's a Gwen player. Hi there, how's it going? And he was saying, look, Gwen really just hates Kennen getting straight inside their W, stunning them up. You don't get to do anything during the duration of that. They can have a very nullified fight. I like the Kennen. I don't exactly understand why it's fallen off to the amount that it has done. I like that's being picked back up again here.
Okay, if they are playing this correctly, you may see why, because Kennen has a weak side into Volibear. If he's not tracked correctly, you're going to have some mixed AP damage and AD damage to come through up there, and he's going to get absolutely melted. Getting a Slicing Maelstrom on the tower does not matter as much if the tower is disabled. So already, through stylistics that we're seeing right now of X7 and Astralis,
and that can be even worse
telling where the pressure is going to be. From X7, majority of their resources will be down towards the bottom side, where they will play for the Aphelios. On the other side of Astralis, majority of their resources will be up towards the top side, where it's about getting the Gwen ahead, letting the Jhin be facilitating in the mid game. So having jungle tracking is going to be pivotal, because you need to know when do we attack with our junglers and when do we need to keep them in the back pocket of a lane that needs shadowing.
And now that Ryza is stepping up finally to the table, he's getting some light recently, and I love this pick because you can just shove it in really early and go into a sideline. Is this a lane where Cress is going to help Carlson and try to get the Gwen ahead alongside with the Volibear?
So I have to ration myself the amount of times I mentioned the LJL, but my favorite team over there...
You're allowed 2 a day!
My favorite team over there at Detonation Focused Me last year really used this kind of technology where they're just like hyper shove in mid, and depending on who wins out of their solo lanes, they'd roam to the other solo lane, snowball their advantages, and then just kind of repeat it over and over. I would think that's a very good play pattern to go towards here.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is communication versus execution. It is the Kings versus the Dreamers. It is Astralis trying to get the third one, or X7 staying on top. And to more than that, we're going to send it to the Costas desk with Initialize and Trouble.
Denmark.
So...
The Kings versus the
No,
Dreamers.
so we've got the LJL guy mentions LJL, then you just hear Goldborg yell Denmark. And
Oh,
of
he's
course,
been yelling Denmark for
oh,
like
he's
the
doing
past
all
3
right.
years.
Look, I'm another LJL guy. I started it up with that guy. So just anyway, so I'm down for the Detonation Focus Me style comp. I'm there for it. And I'm
mute him.
Can you mute him? He's just yelling from the other side of the stage. Anyway, back onto this game. I think the analyst desk, for all of their national pride, so to speak, kind of
Biased.
are right. Have got it right in the fact that jungle tracking and watching
Nobody's going to let you get a good intro here.
You know what? Never mind. Look,
Let's go.
Watch where the Volibear is going. See whether they get things happen top. And of course, Haru on the Jhin's out. And maybe bot side could be interesting as well. And we kind of said it in that draft ourselves. Can these weak points survive the early pressure that the opposing team will be trying to put out?
Here's the thing. I think this game is going to be extremely slow from the set of X7. They've pretty much built a composition that says, come at us.
Yeah.
We have the Cannon to peel for ADC. We've got Zinzao to peel for ADC. We've got Victor to peel for ADC. Oh wait, and if that's not enough, oh yeah, there's a Thresh with an exhaust that can peel for the ADC. So, sentiment of everything that I just said, the TLDR is you don't get to touch Nata at all. Now, if Carlson can get ahead on that Gwen. If Taxa can output enough early game pressure to the point where Astralis can shoot up ahead in the early game and start getting advantages for themselves, I can see a world where X7 is not at their item break point yet. They can't take fights, yet they fall behind. Now, this is a pretty big task to us because once Carlsen was ganked in the previous game that we saw from Astralis, he fell extremely behind and then he couldn't be relevant anymore for the entirety of that game. He's playing the Gwen right now, which is an extremely scaling into the late game champion, not running the Ignite, so not looking to take the trades, not looking to snowball the top lane.
Sure.
So again, my eyes are going to fall on Taxa. I would love to follow Taxa around and see what his idea of an early game is when he's playing the Volibear, which is very similar-ish to a Jarvan and Gankslot in the early game.
And I've also got to disappoint you, Trouble. It's not Predator Volibear. I know you were hoping for it.
Man.
It is the press the attack option, but a little bit more like burst damage, I suppose.
It's more brawly.
Yes.
It's more brawly.
That's
And just because we said that both of these teams kind of want to go late game, they want to team fight, you know, you want to have your Gwen and your Ryze being scaled into the late game. So do X7. So having the press the attack, it's a little bit more of a late game-ish room than Predator where you just want to be ganking people in the early game.
Sure, and of course, when you've got a Gwen and a Ryze who are going to be scaling up and being side lane threats, you've got a pretty strong 1-3-1 option. You add in the likes of a Jhin, Nautilus, and Volibear who can facilitate a dive or hold that mid lane as you need. And you can sort of see how Astralis might want to play that out if they are playing for a little bit later on into the game. But as it stands, perhaps unsurprisingly, Jaeger here with the shove in the top side due to the nature of a range versus melee matchup. Both junglers pathing towards the bot side of the map, though I will note that Taxa knows that Haru's about to go into his red buff because of the early level 1 ward Astralis placed onto that
It is
buff.
one of these Death Note situations that I knew you knew that you would know that I would know that you knew that I'd know. And Taxa is actually camping at the red buff.
Good ward, but there's a Sky Spinner coming through and Haru has to flash out.
And that is the pressure of the press the attack, right? 1, 2, 3, chomp. Is really strong onto that Volibear in the early game. Predator, yes, gives you a lot of ganking ability, but
Gonna get the smite, and that is secured by Haru, who gets away with it.
Haru doesn't miss those.
He does not, and has burnt the flash, but does get the red buff invade, and that will delay Tax's speed of clear, but Jin's out down the flash. Maybe he could get dueled around these scuttle crabs.
I'm honestly gutted because that was a really lovely play from Taxa that has now set him really, really far behind. The entire jungle cleared by Haru, yet Taxa has to return back to his bot side jungle, clear blue and clear wolves. I would have liked to see Cress a little bit more active on the map. He had priority in the mid lane, instantly going to Fog of War, instantly enter the jungle, make it a 4 versus 3 in favor of Astralis. Again, these are a few of the details that we always have problems with when it comes to Astralis and to their late game. They're just not willing enough to take the extra steps towards aggression.
Yeah, and it is that issue. Great idea, great plan, slightly suspect execution, unfortunately, and that one doesn't play out. Of course, did get the Scuttle Crab on the retreat, so not going to suffer too much, just more of a pacing thing, really. The fact it does delay some of those spawn timers for you on that side of the jungle. Haru is going to head straight up to try and get that top side Scuttle Crab, and then is in a pretty good spot to start clearing right back again.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, this is quite a bit problematic because Haru right here is like, cool, I don't have to clear my jungle yet, nothing is up, I can look for opportunities, I can actually invade the Volibear, find him in his jungle, Kennen has priority up the top lane, can enter the jungle if I want to fight together with him, and you see that he's looking consistently for the Volibear, puts down the control ward. Now he will know when the red buff will come up again, when Tax is going to be on his top side of the map, so all of this aggression has resulted to Haru being ahead, Haru taking control of the map, and invading and playing as he pleases. I'm not sure if he actually took the birds there, because Cress moved into the jungle to push him out. I didn't look at... He didn't.
Got a couple of the small ones, couldn't secure the full big raptor, so nice covering there from Cress to prevent too much of the invade. The wind becoming lightning did, of course, give Haru away on the invade, and nice response there from Cress to shield his jungler from unwanted invades.
And that's what we want. We want Cress to be a little bit more active when it comes to shoving in that mid wave and honestly bleeding your pressure through the map together with your jungler. Again, Taxa is playing on a very play-making champion right now. We have seen him really thrive on champions like the Lee Sin, which are his bread and butter, but now Volibear can pretty much output the same early game pressure. He's pretty good at fighting. He's really good into the Xin Zhao as well. I mean, we saw what the Volibear did to Xin Zhao.
Ouch, yep.
Level 3 versus level 3. So you do have the upper hand, and also Cress has the perma push in the mid lane, which means that if Taxa wants to take yet another invade, you've got the back of your eyes. This time Cress level 6, he's gonna back, grab his boots, which means he's gonna be much faster on the map to potentially see that Realm Warp go to a side lane.
Well, Taxa now roaming down towards his bot lane, but of course due to the Scryers, Bloom will note that there was a ward in the river there, clears that one out, and not too much more to be found. And I'm probably gonna have to give up my play-by-play card for this because I've been paying more attention to that mini-map, as you were saying, because, you know, Cress got the perma shift. I've seen him drop out of lane, wander down river, see if there's anything to be found 2 or 3 times now. And that's what I like to see, is like, even if it's not turned into anything, the fact there was a bit of proactivity is what I love to see.
I really love what Harrow is doing right here, shadowing his bot lane. They need to shove it in this wave real quickly because they know Taxa is roaming around, and they know Cress has the Realm Warp ready.
Oh, that's a flash out from Kasing. Glacial versus Aftershock, and
Free dragon.
Yeah, could be that free dragon as a result of that.
Really good stuff from Astralis. This is what we want to see. We want to see the extra aggression. Harrow had to shadow the bot lane because the bot lane had to shove in the wave so they can take the first back. What did that result to? Taxer still around. Cress had shoved in the mid lane. Numbers advantage to Astralis, which means the second Kasing oversteps, Wendell with one hook can cause problems in that lane. And you see that even though Tempt has to put that
Chaos Storm.
That Chaos Storm down, it doesn't really help with pushing the lane because it sticks onto the champion more.
Yeah, and actually as well, like, Nata is down a little bit in this lane, which I wasn't expecting for Thresh if I think that might have been as a result of going to save Haru on that red buff invade and cost him a little bit in the lane. And Astralis have managed, as you were saying, a pretty convincing early game here. Shoving the mid, controlling the bot, get a hold of this dragon. But we've seen this before from Astralis.
Yeah, that's why I took a big second. I'm like, okay, Astralis really good in the early game, expected. They have the Jhin lane, they have the Ryze lane, they have hard shoving lanes, they've got the Volibear in the early game, they've got some pretty good fundamental champions to take over the lanes in the early stages. Now, can they convert this into a Rift Herald? Can they convert this into a pick?
Flash Rune Prison into the Stormbringer. First blood to Cress.
I guess the answer would be yes to that. That was really, really well played. Again, pushing lanes, and Taxa uses them to perfection. They knew that Tempt doesn't have teleport available, and they take his flash, which means that he's gonna lose a bunch of minions, which, yes, Harrow is going to soak, but it's not going to be that Victor taking the CS. It's not going to be the Victor that takes the experience, and it's not going to be the Victor taking the gold. It is instead going to be Astralis taking the kill. They're going to be chased away from that bar.
Flash slicing Maelstrom gets 2, forces Tax to flash out in turn. Now Jaeger, lightning rushing away. That is the needlework coming up, and look at how much damage Haru is doing. It's a 1v3 and just does not give a damn. Jaeger gets the stun there. Audacious charge rather from Haru. Not a wind becomes lightning to continue chasing on to Carlson. That's the wind becoming lightning, and it does strike twice. Now Taxa caught in a 1v2. Actually, as Wendell comes up to help alongside it, Tempt runs away from that thunderous charge, and they're going to continue chasing down the Volibear. One final Shuriken secures it, and X7 just walk in and beat them down with their own mechanics.
It was so slow again from the side of Astralis. You just kick the Victor out of the game. You send him back into the fountain. You need to gather your entire team at that Rift Herald and take it down. We saw that when Taxa and Cress went back, they went straight for the boots. They want to roam the map, they want to find opportunities, but look at the other side for Haru. Griesbeck has been left alone also in the bot lane. He died too!
So Astralis, get the kill mid, go to try and take Herald. X7, stick around, get plate spot, and get the Herald and kills topside.
Get plates, they get even CS onto their affiliates, which was falling behind. But the most important thing, again, I want to highlight the items right here, because Haru went for the straight up aggression. He's going towards his gold drinker, and he wants to complete the item as soon as possible. On the other side, you have Taxa, who, yes, it's pretty good at doing, having trades in the early stages of the game, but went for the cooldown boots together with Cress, which means that you're missing a lot on the damage department. So when Haru goes in, the ultimate can withstand so much damage, and you saw the difference right there. On one side, you've got plenty of boots on the other side. You've got plenty of damage. Guess who wins? Damage, boots, it's damage.
And out of nowhere from an early game that seemed pretty Astralis favored after a great play in the mid lane, they are now
but
down.
That's the curse of Astralis, isn't it?
Down 3,000 gold out of nowhere.
That is the curse of Astralis. They have the early game and they're just unwilling to pull the trigger in a lot of these plays. Crispec should in no way, shape or form be staying alone at the bot side of the map, should be following the team, should be mid lane while the rest of the team is doing Rift Herald. And again, their macro, their decision making and their rotations have been quite lacking. Now the question is, can they bring it back on those close encounters? Is Carlsen going to be enough of that god Gwen who's been set behind?
Makes a lot of damage. Remember, Haru does have a lantern, though, so it gets out, but that's a chunk onto the mid lane about a minute before this dragon spawns. Does have teleport, so we'll surely be able to reset and cheat that kind of reset timer. But Haru just going forward every time. He's so aggressive here with the Herald and infantry. Very deep now, does have that lantern, takes it away, but Tax is going to get the thundering charge to get some more damage. Has to burn that Crescent, got a lot of damage, but they don't quite have enough. Instead, he's going to go forward. Can't quite get Crest, taking a lot of damage now in turn, but look at Kasing and Temp trying to do as much damage in turn. They kill off the volley bear, and Haru survives. I don't know what's going on. What?
Again, Haru is using the fact that he's so strong right now. He's got so much item advantage in his inventory that he's playing in the front of the faces of Astralis. He's putting down his foot and he's like, enough is enough. Enters the jungle, he knows he's stronger, he takes the advantage. Rift Girl's gonna be popping in the bot lane. Nata has cast on every single turret plating on the bot lane tower. He's cast in on killing Crispberg. He's cast in on first tower. He's cast in on tower platings. And again, Haru, really lovely aggression into the jungle of Astralis. He knows he's stronger. Great shield right there from Kasing to pull him back. And once that Zinzao pulls ultimate, you gotta stand in the ultimate to hit him, which means all this Jhin damage went through and did not touch Haru. Cress had to flash away because Haru is too strong. Taxa dies. There were 4 members on top of Haru, and Haru does not end up going down.
That is insane, and well, I'm glad that Kindle Gem got turned into him because the weight of that ball was just massive for Haru going in there. Huge stuff from him. Gets that gold drink at 2-0-2, and that's after he burned his flash on his around his initial red buff, you know? What a turnaround here, and now gold lead is now at 5,000 gold, X7. So good at just exploding leads out of seemingly nowhere.
Haru has expressed his will to go to EU Masters. I'm pretty sure he would be really happy to make it all the way to the finals and try to win it as well. And honestly, when he puts up performances like this, he better do. And Astralis are pulling up a 5-man towards the top side of the map.
They send in Wendell, but Nata goes forward with that Pile force. He's going to try and survive with the onslaught. They just can't kill him. He gets right on out. Now Kasing going to be left out to dry. He has the stopwatch and should be able to think about getting out. Has flash, gets towards the tower. The bullet's going wide. One last one would do it. They miss. And somehow, some way, they get out.
5 people top side of the map. 5 people top side of the map. And no one from X7 dies. Jaeger gets to free farm bottom of the map. 50 CS ahead of Carlsen's Gwen. That Gwen is gonna come online when the game is offline.
They're about to have their PCs turned off at this point. There'll be a massive, like, lightning striking the router courtesy of Jaeger, who is continuing to build out advantages, and that's part of where this goal is going from. Yes, these plays are going well, but look at what's going on the side lanes.
So we always sit here and we look at our notes and we're like, cool. Who's going to be more aggressive in the early game? Damn, you've got a volley bear, you've got a Rise that can roam around the
Nautilus,
map.
yeah.
You've got a Nautilus, really good setup on your side lanes. And we were like, is X7 going to be able to withstand this early game? Is X7 going to be able to survive the pressure coming in from Astralis 40 minutes into the game? 6,000 gold lead for the side of X7. 6,000 gold lead on a team that's scaling madly into the late game, that has insane team fight potential and peeling potential. I'm trying to save and salvage things for Astralis, but unless they manage to pick someone off on a side lane with Crisis ult potentially, it's just really hard to be turned around, man, because Carlsen has been kept in a lane over and over again. Jaeger's about to have an item and a half, and Carlsen doesn't even have his first mythic item completed.
You need to try and stall if you can. The first step has got to be stabilizing. You want to get this Gwen, this Rise to a couple items, and then maybe they can start 1-3-1-ing, pressuring the likes of this
He can't even go towards his wave.
Kennen.
He's underneath his tower.
And you're beginning to wonder why we're seeing a bit of Kennen into Gwen. If the Gwen leaves lane, gets this far behind, it gets real challenging real quick. Poke is obnoxious. Herald number 2 will spawn, and Cress is actually going to turn up here with his fellow solo lane and try and chase away this Kennen.
I love that. I love that. We need some side lane pressure, but this was not set up properly. This was not set up properly. The Nautilus is now leaving the base. Top lane is being pushed.
Oh,
and
no.
It's not been answered at all. X7 do not care about Jaeger too much.
Oh,
He can handle
no.
his own.
That's just so much damage. The Ignite's going to come through. That's just a lot of damage. They're still just about immune. He goes too far. Thought he had the 100 to 0 and didn't quite.
Yeah, but look on the other side of the map. Nata is pushing mid lane wave after wave after wave after wave. We said we want Astralis to push in the side, potentially punish someone who's pushing. Who's the one pushing? It's going to be Jaeger. Yes, he gets punished, but what do they lose for it? They lose Rift Herald, they lose top lane tower, they lose, excuse me, top lane push, and now Crispec. Mate,
Oh, no.
mate, you're way too far out.
He's got flash, he's got feel, and they won't jump him. They don't feel quite comfortable enough to do that. Instead, though, they will secure this mid lane turret. There's no way this survives. There it goes. And in fact, may even look to set up for a second charge. Remember, a lot of those ultimates
They can't stop them.
gone
There's
down the air.
2 members of Astralis in the jungle. They have the flank, yeah, but they don't have the manpower right now. It's now that Carlsen comes out of the base, and it is very irrelevant. So what did they lose? They lost a cannon.
Yep.
They lost the life of a cannon, and they lost his shutdown. Fair enough. What did they earn? Herald, top lane tier 1, mid lane tier 1, mid lane tier 2. This is absolutely massive from the side of X7. Cress does not have a safe lane to push. He needs to be on a side lane where he actually has a tier 1 tower remaining. That's why you also see Carlsen in the mid lane, plus the fact that Cress does have the teleport. He could potentially enter team fights now that the teleport has been unleashed. But you look at the inventories, they're so strong for the side of X7.
I mean, here I was thinking property was supposed to be expensive, but one cannon's life trade you for 3 whole towers.
Apparently X7 is rich.
And doing very well. They've got the dollar right now, and that's the prize of being the first place team in the league, tied up with JDXL. Finally dropped a game, did X7, of course, over the last
We
week.
would have been on the EU Masters list of the undefeated team so far. Come on, X7.
You know it. Unfortunately, did give away that one game, but are still looking to prove why they are the team to beat in this league. And for Astralis,
I would say 17 minutes in, 7,000 gold ahead.
Monstrous.
It proves a point.
it certainly does. And for Astralis, like, you can see what they're trying. Like, okay, try and punish this cannon who's shoved up so far, but it comes at such a mighty cost. And their mid game has not been their strength for Astralis. And I asked to stabilize this, hasn't been stabilizing. It's just bleeding out even more right now.
You look in the top lane, still ahead for the cannon. X7, there is no vision for Astralis, but Haru could have been caught here. He'll take the lantern. He's outie, but again, the pressure of having to be careful. Taxa going in.
Taxa was supposed to be this big playmaking option with the volley bear. They're going to throw the depth charge onto Haru, but they can't do as much. Cannon comes through. Jaeger gets a lot of damage out, and the lightning slices apart one. It'll come at trade. Now Cress flashing forwards. Rice doing a lot of work, and Carlsen gets one as well. It's a big shutdown. The realm warping forwards. How many people are coming? They don't take it. That's a big pickup for Astralis. The moment I doubt them, they at least pull off something there.
Okay, that was a good step toward the right direction for Astralis, and we've seen over and over and over and over and over again how dangerous that tier 2 up in the top lane is. Haru overextends, he loses more than 50% of his HP. He has to pop his ultimate defensively while running away. Tempt is not able to put any damage down. Nata has to run away because he's actually zoned out of the fight. And yes, Jaeger goes in, he kills the support, then what? Doesn't get to touch anyone else. Carlsen, puts the immunity down, doesn't get touched, and X7 have to run for the hills. All in all, it was a really great fight picked right there for Astralis. Is it too little, too late? I still think so. I still think it's a little, too late. They should have been picking up these fights, should have been picking up these opportunities way earlier into the game. But again, it's a step towards the right direction. They managed to grab some shutdowns there as well.
Yes, but I've got to call it out. This is not the first time we've seen X7 make these greedy plays when super far ahead in mid lane.
It's that top lane. This is how Eminem lost
versus.
their game versus X7.
Exactly.
Trying to pull that dive. It's a dangerous tower, man. Stay away from
it. It really is, and you know, it's some of these side lane outplay attempts from X7 have cost
that
them.
tier 2 tower is like Eren Jaeger. It's like...
Okay, come on, right. I see I see the tangent. I don't want to justify this one for me, Trouble.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's like the tower is there, and it's like, dive. People who watch Attack on Titan will get that reference.
They'll get that reference, that's fair. All right, well, Shingeki no Kyojin, there we go. I think I remember how to pronounce that properly. Did live in Japan for a couple of years.
You're trying to out-weeb me?
I lived in Japan for 2 years.
Fine,
I have got that over you on that front,
you can
in fairness.
It's fine. I'll let you out-weeb me.
Like this one's, in fairness, I don't know a lot about that show, so you definitely out-weeb me on that one. Anyway, back to League of Legends, perhaps, briefly.
Let's do that.
Just a bit, let's do that briefly. X7 just picked up a second dragon for themselves, still a ways off Seoul, of course. It is a mountain rift. And they are continuing just to try and get as much lane pressure as possible. My question then becomes, can Astralis continue to get these important picks onto overextended X7 members? And a part of that is making sure they keep this vision up in their jungle.
So, again, I think it's going to have to be a...
Okay, that's a lot of damage down onto this Nautilus. You thought they were going to pick us, and Chrisberg in a lot of trouble, had to Gale Force away, and it's a dead Nautilus.
The reason the reason why it worked for Astralis prior was because there were 5 members. Nata has overextended. Is there any
Lantern? No, there's not.
Nope.
Again, X7 with their overextensions. They might have Temp get in trouble here as well. Haru's also in a bind, does have the Crescent Guard. Jaeger throwing out a little bit of damage, he's on about 20% HP. And Astralis can start thinking about running people down, but the turnaround damage! Ouch! As Gwen gets taken apart.
Yeah, Jaeger a little bit too eager. Carlson, sorry, a little bit too eager there to try and chase. He had the ultimate charges, which meant he could heal whilst doing damage as well. But it's not enough, especially when you get hooked, because you're permanently CC'd right there. Astralis have managed to sort of close the gap. 5,000 diff there. And it started by Wendell in a very overzealous move out there to try and pin down Jaeger. Like, Jaeger does a lot of damage on that cannon. You can't just pull him towards Chrisberg, who's your ADC. This is the target that Jaeger wants to be hitting. You can't be pulling these hooks. And the reason, again, why Astralis were able to pull out that fight in the top lane that was successful for them is because they were able to catch out Haru at the start and take his ultimate. Now, what they can do is potentially try to go for more picks when they're 5-man ulted together.
He's in so much trouble.
Way too far ahead.
Gonna try and get as much damage down as they can, but they've got shields and they can't quite finish it up. They need to realm warp out quick as they can. Do manage to get it, but look at Cress. He's still gonna be able to walk away. You look at him and he's already out.
I just think Astralis do not understand the assignment here. They need to be a 5-man unit. They need to catch someone off guard. They need to catch someone on a side lane. You can't have Wendell flashing 3 screens away from anyone in your team and expect someone to capitalize on a pick. This will cost Astralis Baron. They don't have the Rise ultimate anymore. They will not have... Sorry, they will have the Chrisberg coming up for Chrisberg.
Oh, days, he's just gone. Don't even need the ultimate. He's deleted in a second. Shocked to death. That's 240 volts. Easy there. The main supply coursing straight through Jin's veins, and he's taken out. Baron's still going.
Taxer has to steal it.
He has to try.
Run away.
He's got the Stormbringer. He can think about it. Look at Cress as well over the ward. Jaeger's going to try and play blocker. Throws down the slicing motion, but he's unstoppable. Into the pit he goes. Taxer going to try and get this through. He's going to get down. Still taken. They're going to kill the volley bearer as well. It was a worthy attempt from Astralis, but they can't quite make it work. Gwen is not immune enough, and she falls down as well.
Haru does not miss his smites versus Taxa. Taxa caught him off guard in his right buff. He smites it away. Taxa jumps into his Baron pit. He smites the Baron away. X7 started it, and X7 finished it. And again, that was a 4v5, a very valiant effort right there from Taxa to try and take down this Baron. But Carson also jumps in, which means they will give yet another life together with the Volley Bear.
Good discipline from X7 to stop burning the Baron and try and take down Taxa. Still, of course, for Astralis, they had enough damage to get it down to...
difficult also when you have like
couple hundred more damage
AoE spells. I mean, you've got AoE spells with the cannon, with the Victor. It's really hard not to hit Baron and only hit Volley Bear.
Absolutely, you know, and I credit over to the rest of Astralis for continuing to chunk it down and try and get it into that smite range. It didn't work out, unfortunately, for them. They are now down the Baron. And they are in a difficult position in this game. 30 seconds for the next Dragon, and I appreciate the attempted picks they've been going for between objectives. Crest gonna try and go for another one, gets rooted in place there by the binding Eclipse. Gale force forward, Cleanse flash, but it's into the waiting arms of Carlson. Scissors. This is not the surgery you were looking for. They're gonna try and take out the Aphelios' appendix and do so. But what about the rest of X7? Crest runs away with the phase rush. Jaeger can't survive. But Gwen, who's going on a murderous rampage. Hospital of Doom, double kill coming through. And actually, Astralis have just about managed it. A root for the Rune Prison because Crest hasn't left. Astralis, if they actually got have done it, they get the Everfrost root. Here comes the teleport back in from Tempt, who's trying to get him. They can't get him, and now it's a 1v2. Still, Tempt does so much damage, but there's going to be a Hallowed Mist available again soon. So much damage coming through. Carl's going to get this one as well. No, flash away from Tempt. And the moment we say Astralis, you can't play the mid game. They come up with a play like this, lose Baron, win the fight.
To be fair with you, Astralis didn't play the mid game. It was Carlson again, coming in clutch, finding the targets that he has to. These patches of every single carry that X7 has right here. And Crest, a little bit overzealous again with his movement. He goes a little bit too far, but Nata Gale forces into the hands of Carlson. Carlson takes those. He will take the Aphelios with him. Then he proceeds to take out Jaeger as well. You see that the Gwen starts scaling into the late game, and if she has to face you one by one, what have we done letting Carlson get into the backline? That's all I'm gonna say. Tempt, TP's also back in to just almost face his demolition as well. Burns the TP, which is going to be huge for any macro play that X7 want to push there. And Carlson, he bunked in on a bunch of kills.
Oh, yeah.
He bunked in on a bunch of bounties, and he took the Dragon as well. So that's 2, a bunch, and Astralis, they do it again.
They do. They're still down 8,000 gold, I want to remind you all. That's a feel-good moment.
That is the comfort zone.
But they've got to be able to continue making plays like that, and I appreciate the fact we have seen that multiple times. Not all of them have worked, but that's the kind of play you need to try and find a way back in.
You know what? Gulbok said that his star sign is really lucky today. Now, I don't know if he says the same star sign with any of the Astralis members, because they need some of his luck as well.
They're gonna need it here, and of course, like Nata there as well. He Gale forces and then flashes the dredge line into Carlson. Like, that's what the flash was. He was trying to get away from the dredge line, and he dodges it, but gets in so much trouble as that one was a bit close as well.
Yeah. So the thing with X7 right here is that they have a pretty nice composition to peel backwards, but when there's so much heavy engage on the side of Astralis, you need to be very careful at what boundaries you can overstep. Because if one hook lands, there's no flash on any of the X7 carries. So if Wendell manages to get one of them, the fight could very easily start for Astralis. They can play underneath the tower, but all this poke coming in from Cannon, all this poke coming in from Tempt will push them off of the tower, and this is going to be a pretty easy inhibitor for the side of X7, using their dollar and using their pockets. Look at the back, it's Carlson again.
And now the X7 have got to try and find their way out. The curtains are called. They're going to try and play this one out, but Jaeger is playing blocker, gets locked in place, does get landed out. But look at where the lock comes through and deletes him anyway. And now you've got Tempt, who's very deep. Stormbringer's come through. Haru is going to be in trouble as well. And Astralis pick up another kill. They're realm warping forwards. Every man comes through. Kasing left out to dry. They get that pick, and Baron's a minute off. They won't be able to secure that, but that is a big, big win again for Astralis, who are continuing to be able to pick apart X7 in these fights.
Again, X7 are overstepping a little bit their boundaries. No one blocks for Jaeger, so he ends up taking the last shot of the curtain call as well. And again, you see, from the flank, Crest and Carlson, they dodge away from Kasing's hook as well, and they catch Jaeger. Beautiful lander from Kasing. But then no one blocks the last shot from the Jin ultimate. He ends up going down, which means this is a 4v5. Nata is already running away. Your damage dealer, your artillery, is already running for the hills, which means you do not take the fight, and it's still Carlson doing so much work for this Astralis lineup over and over again. Astralis have had to rely on these backs of the 16-year-old Danish prodigy that they've brought into the team.
And this is a Gwen that was down over 50 CS.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of towers, a lot of gold. In fact, can we flick over the gold? Because I want to see what's going on that top side. Suddenly, you got a gold lead for that Gwen. Yes, of course, mid lane. Bot lane, still pretty okay for X7, more than okay, but when in the late game, becoming more and more problematic.
Okay, this is a big boo-boo here, because Taxa pushed a little bit too far forward. He overextended, he lost his flash. And this is so important, especially since Baron is up. Being able to get in and out of the pit. Try to go for that still, but Crest has
Crest takes so much damage. He's going to flash out, and maybe Jaeger's gone too different. He's going to die, and now Crest gets out, of course, alive. Temp's in trouble as well. He gets shut down. They do manage to get the Nautilus to trade. Haru goes to the backside and secures Chrisberg. But can he get out alive? Gwen in this choke point could do so much work, but she's not going to be immune for much longer. Infernum flying through as many as they can. Duskwave looking to set Astralis into the night. The stars being silenced. It's a supernova of a team fight in favor of X7. They come out on top.
And this is the first fight that Nata has actually had the luxury and the space to put down auto attacks. The death timers are huge. 10 seconds so when the only attacks are alive. The artillery is alive for X7. They're gonna end the game right here, right now.
It was a massive early game gold lead for X7. They managed to keep it high, but Astralis have made them fight tooth and nail. They have played a valiant attempt at defending this game, but valiance does not lead to victory in this one. X7 will move to 8-1.
Wow. So, X7 show us that they can bleed, show us that mistakes can be made. I'm not too surprised that they actually managed to beat Astralis. I am more surprised and disappointed on the fact that Astralis don't know what game they want to play until it's too late every single time.
And you can sort of see the talent of these players for Astralis. They made some really amazing comeback fights from ridiculous goal deficits, and they really did try, but you said it yourself,
honestly,
too little, too late, and it's not around objective timings. It wasn't when they could secure a Baron. It wasn't when they could secure Dragons. And
honestly, don't get us wrong. We obviously celebrate X7's win, and we do know that if they do make it into, the playoffs and potentially further into the future EU Masters, they're going to do pretty well because they're a very well-rounded team. It's just a surprise to everyone, I think, and if you follow the scene of the NLC for a long time, you know a bunch of these names on the side of Astralis, Carlsen coming in and actually being one of the star players of the team, and then going into the games and them looking kind of lost, I would say, in the early game. Taxa seems to be having a clear plan, but it's not communicated to Crest, and then it starts crumbling all around. And even though we know that X7 plays a stellar game, I think I'd like to see, what kind of final boss Astralis can become.
Absolutely. Astralis, once again, fall short. X7, a little bit tested there, but they do win it out in the end. But we're going to cut to a break, and when we come back, next game up, JDXL versus Riddle. You want to be here for that. See you round 2.